Hello, everyone, and welcome to the FYE Talks podcast. We're really excited to have a couple of really awesome guests today that I'm going to let introduce themselves in a moment. As always, I like to plug our podcast here in the beginning. Remember, tune in every Tuesday and Thursday at 1 p.m. for the FYE Talks podcast. There's always something interesting going on and something new to learn. And so, who do I have with me today? Can you introduce yourselves, please?
Sure. My name is Teresa Brown. I am the Manager of Accessibility Services here at Elizabethtown Community and Technical College.
And I am Chase Deneen. I am a student here at Elizabethtown Community and Technical College. It is my second year here. I'm one of those students who has no idea what they want to major in yet, but I know once I figure it out, I know I'm going to be good at it.
Amen. And so that's always where we like to start, is introducing our guests. And so today we're kind of here to spread a little bit of awareness, right? We want to talk about autism and maybe some of the things people think they know that they don't know enough about, misconceptions, things like that. Because as time has progressed, I remember when I was in high school, it really wasn't talked about that much. It was kind of on the fringes as far as, autism existed. There'd been discussions, but I don't remember in high school there ever being any awareness, any kind of support.
Right.
And so Teresa, can you speak on that a little bit? Have you seen in your professional experience that becoming more and more out in the open?
The same thing with me when I was in high school, which I'm not going to date myself, but it wasn't something that I even knew existed, honestly, until I watched the movie Rain Man. And everybody always says that's the movie that people think defines autism. And in some ways, yes, but not completely.
Rain Man? Cool.
Yeah. And so when I became a vocational rehab counselor back in 2005, that's when I really started to understand more about different types of disabilities as far as like autism. And the thing is now the DSM has put it all under one category as autism spectrum disorder. Whereas previously there were different types. There was Asperger's, there was pervasive. And so now, and I understand why they did it that way, but at the same time, I don't think that was really a good idea because, like I said, when people see autism, they think one thing. But when you look at Asperger's, pervasive, it's more social skills, face-to-face interactions, things like that. And
social cues.
Right, social cues. And so when you don't know what it is, you see spectrum. That means somebody can be on one end, somebody can be on the other end. I've had students that were nonverbal, that were diagnosed with autism, and then I have students that, are, you look at them and it's just like, okay, and you don't want to use the word regular, but, it's a person that, you don't know that they may have that diagnosis. So it's, and then they said like 1 in 5 or 1 in 10 kids, they're expecting to be diagnosed with autism. That's not the exact number, so don't quote me, but it's something like that. That as years go on, they're expecting more and more kids to be diagnosed with that.
And do you think it's because there's just more awareness now and more
awareness,
people looking
yes.
for those?
Yeah,
Yes.
more awareness, assessments.
Yes.
People are looking at things, looking at kids even younger now and thinking, okay, should I get them tested, that kind of thing. So yeah, it's definitely more awareness.
Gotcha. Sure. And I remember hearing that also a lot. Was like, well, a couple of years ago, nobody had autism. It's like, no, we just didn't know what we were
didn't know
looking
what
for.
it was. It's kind of like ADHD.
Definitely.
There were students in the 50s that had it, but of course, nobody knew what it was then.
Yeah.
So it's always different when there's more awareness.
Definitely. Yeah. And so, Chase, can you kind of speak about your experiences with autism and kind of give us a background on, how that's impacted your life at all?
Yes, absolutely. So I am autistic. Now, I will say this too, there is this YouTube channel, called Princess Aspian. Like, this is like her professional name. She basically lives, if I recall, like I think all the way across like the other side of the world, like in Australia or something. And she is basically like a motivational speaker on autism. And like I've seen a lot of her videos, and I definitely agree like on a lot of her stuff on what she says. Like one in particular that stuck to my mind is like if people say like I have autism versus I am autistic, like those are two completely different views of saying it. Like how I think of it is like if someone says I have autism, someone might think, oh, like you think, like they think it's like that they think it can go away, when really, and I think more Aspies, as we're called, should say, I am autistic, meaning that they're proud to be who they are, no matter if they're autistic or not.
Definitely. And so you kind of see it as this is a part of me, I'm proud of it, and you're looking to spread awareness to other students, faculty, staff, that kind of environment.
Yes, and basically growing up, I was basically, in a way, basically I was like an outcast, as I kind of see it. Like, I was shy, like, I was basically shy, like, making friends back then. And we also have, like, Aspies, like, we have, I don't recall if every person on the autism spectrum has it, or most people, like, they have, like, special, like, certain interests that, like mine is, like I love the arts, and, like, say when a song comes on the radio, I will name the exact title of the song and the artist, and sometimes the album it's off of. Like, we'll get, like, very detailed into it, like, into the stuff we're interested in.
Well, that's awesome. I wish I could do that because I can't tell you how many times I thought of a song and I'm like, if I could just look this up on YouTube, I would have it and it would be good. But that's great. I mean, it sounds like in a lot of ways, there's a lot more awareness now in high schools, elementary schools, in these different types of environments, and even colleges to help support people with autism and to help make them feel, like you said, not in the days where it was kind of put under wraps, people didn't talk about it, it wasn't something you could be proud of, to today, people coming on and being creators and content providers that are really trying to diversify those different spectrums. Do you see a lot of creators on YouTube and different platforms helping to kind of say, hey, I'm autistic and I'm very proud of this, I want to give that information to the world?
Yes and no. Like, not a whole lot, but, like, there are some that I see. And the person who I talked about earlier, Princess Aspian, like, I feel like she is a very good example, like, on, like, the autism information, because, like, that's basically what her channel is devoted to. And, like, she'll even talk about, like, some other stuff that, I think it's the word symptoms, maybe, that I'm thinking of, that, like, some other Aspies might have, like ADHD, for example, which I also have as well.
Chase,
Like,
can you spell her name?
Princess, like, and then Aspian, which, if I recall, I think it's ASPIEN.
Okay.
You can always look it up on YouTube as well.
Okay. That sounds really interesting.
Definitely. I think that's something that we should all check out. And so, Teresa, working in a college environment, how do you see changes, or how do you see these students embracing who they are when they come into college? Do you see that, I guess my question is, being a point of fruition? And do you see a lot more students kind of embracing that identity and using it to their success?
Well, yes. Of course, I've only been here. Next year will be 2 years, but you know, just going off of the experience I had with voc rehab too. I have a lot of students. When I was voc rehab counselor, we helped with the tuition and book assistance, and if they needed any type of accommodations that we could pay for, like, you know, apparatus and things like that. But yes, when they first come in, it's kind of like that. I don't want anybody to know because I feel like I'll be treated different. And then, you know, I always try to tell them, you know, you can only be yourself. Matter of fact, I have a sweatshirt that says, be you, they'll adjust, you know, because you can only be you. And if you try to be somebody else, it's so much more difficult life, you know what I mean? So in that respect, they have embraced who they are and are okay with it. And I think going through college and being able to be successful in college helps with that as well. We have a lot of instructors that have been very understanding, just great instructors that have just kind of wanted to understand more and have been a kind of a crossroad for students. And I think that just that success of passing a class or passing a paper, or just those little things can help build up that confidence, and and say, hey, it's okay to be me. It's okay to have the issues that I have. And I know, like, some people, it's noise, certain noises they can't deal with. Some people, it's what do you call it, sensory things.
Yes.
And touching, or just different things, and those things like that, I don't think really affect as much in college, but it can. But like I said, just those little victories, I think, have helped a lot of students just be more proud to be themselves. Like Chase is, like you said, he's been here for 2 years. He's been doing great. When things moved online, you made the dean's list.
Yes, I made the dean's list for the spring.
Yeah, and so
spring.
That's fantastic.
everything was really like crazy because
Yeah.
of quarantine. But you have students like Chase that still continue to do the things that they need to do, and still continue to be successful. Like you said, he's not sure what he wants to do, but whatever he does, he's gonna be great at it. I already know that.
Definitely.
So it's just those little victories, like I said, that really help. Chase, I have a question for you though.
Okay.
How does having autism, like you said, in high school, making friends and things like that, how has that changed for you since you've been in college? Have you become, because I see you talking to people and things like that, so you became a little more open since you've gotten here?
Yes. Well, to be honest, I wasn't very detailed when I said this. I had more of a struggle making friends, like back in elementary school, and I think maybe a little bit of middle school. But what also helped me was, since I love the arts, like I basically did choir and my school plays, and basically the arts, it's helped me to come out of my shell.
Awesome.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And so those spaces kind of built a community with you. And so you were able to kind of find a lot of people who were like-minded in those arts and those different productions and things like that.
Exactly. And when I got to high school, I felt more confident making friends, and I basically am still best friends with them, and most of them go here too. And one of my other best friends, he looks like me, but like he's got more facial hair than I do. He goes to college over in Murray.
Oh yeah, I remember him. You brought him to the office one time.
Yes, and basically, like, he's going to be going to major in engineering.
That's awesome. That is the best.
I was in choir too, and it helps. It does. It does help you, be more outgoing, so to speak. Yeah, because you're performing for the crowds and things like that. So.
Well, I was going to say, I can't think of anything better that we kind of break down some of that nervousness people get with public speaking than choir or those productions and things like that. And so I think that those are really valuable spaces. And did you see those being kind of like a place that you could go to just let a lot of things go and just be yourself, a very expressive place?
Oh yes, whether I'm part of it or in the audience, it basically relaxes me. It makes me feel happy. And earlier, before we started this podcast, I was telling Miss Brown here about the Lion King, the musical, and how beautiful it was. And like, I could go all into detail as far as I can remember, like, on how great it was.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And so, Teresa, what are some things that you wish people were a little bit more aware of? And then, Chase, if you could also kind of give some of the thoughts, things that you wish people, thought more of or knew when you met them, things like that. Just some kind of clearing the water as to some misconceptions. Because I definitely think with people not knowing enough about autism and kind of only having that surface level knowledge, there's room for a lot of misconceptions.
Well, and that's the thing. It's just kind of, try to get to know the person, and slowly, but surely you'll learn more about that person and how autism affects that person. And then I think, one of the misconceptions is how people are different, how it manifests itself in someone in a different way. Like I said, I had a nonverbal student. When he was 2 or 3, he was able to say things, and then all of a sudden, it's like his it just stopped, and he he's been nonverbal ever since. I think he's like 28 now, and but that's him. Then you have, like I said, someone who is just social. They don't know social cues. They don't know, so it's just getting to know the person.
And could you give an example of like social cues
Okay,
for
so
people
say
who
like
might
if
not
you're,
know?
yeah, if you're having a conversation with someone, okay, and me and you were talking back and forth, and then you're like, okay, well, I'll see you later, and you're turning right, that person will keep talking because they don't realize that social cue that I'm done.
Gotcha. I'm exiting the
Yeah,
conversation.
I'm out of here. Yeah, so it's learning those things about people. And like I said, that's one of the misconceptions. I think is just knowing that it everybody's different. It affects everybody different. You have Chase here, it affects him different. So that's the biggest thing is if you know someone or you've met someone and just get to know the person. And sometimes they'll tell you how it affects you. It just depends. But it's just that it doesn't affect everybody the same.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah, I basically agree. And like for me, like I still struggle with like some social cues, like every now and then. Like say like when I want to say something like in the middle of the conversation, like I'm still trying to like figure out like when I can say like may I say something like when to join in.
Gotcha.
While everybody else is talking.
Right.
And other misconceptions. I will say that like not everybody on the autism spectrum is the same. Like I'm very high functioning, and there are some who aren't as high functioning, and that's okay. Like they learn, we all learn at our own paces.
Definitely.
We learn basically throughout our everyday lives.
That's very true. As far as like the higher functioning or lower functioning, that's something you can't tell. So when like again, it just goes into getting to know the person and understanding how autism, what autism is to them.
Yes.
I think that's just the most important thing, and that's just to me that's just life in general. You get to know people and you find out things about them, and the more comfortable they are with you, the more they'll share with you.
Definitely.
So yeah.
Yeah. I will say another one too. Like I think this one to me sticks out the most. Like we basically want to be treated as everybody else. We in a way we think differently. Like we love to like get down into like the step by steps of finding a solution to a problem. Like say for example like if you're solving like one of your math equations or something. Like we love to do like every step by step, even though like we know like how to get there at this point. Like we still like to like at least write it down. That way it still sticks to us.
Gotcha. And so do you see in your classes and things like that, do you see an opportunity to use different learning styles? Do you see different teachers kind of adjusting the way that they teach to kind of make it easier to have that step by step? Or do you think that the teaching is kind of very general and you're able to adapt more?
I think in my opinion, maybe sometimes. And like, what do you mean like specifically? Like,
so for example, do some teachers kind of break down the material more into those step by steps and then some of them leave it more general? Do you see that happening in the classes sometimes?
I think when it comes to that, like it also like not only depends on the class, but I feel like it also depends on like the teacher, like their ways of teaching, because everybody like has their own methods.
Definitely.
I think too with instructors, the more you try to talk to them, maybe by yourself, maybe get a time to talk to them, and kind of help them understand how you learn. Because I always tell students when they come get their letters, when it's time for you to have your teacher sign them, talk to them about their class, talk to them about their syllabus. How do they do this, or how do they formulate problems? And that way you can get to know the instructor, and the instructor in some way gets to know you. You don't have to go into detail or anything like that, but just kind of, if it's something specific on the syllabus that you either don't understand or you feel like it needs to be broken down more, ask them, talk to them.
Definitely.
Instructors are willing to help, but they can't help if they don't know.
Absolutely. And I was going to ask, do you recommend kind of reaching out and saying,
Yes.
hey, these are maybe some of the barriers I think I might have in this class.
Right.
How can we work together to overcome them?
Yeah, that's why. Yeah, exactly. So I always tell when you take it, this is your time. And even on the form, I think it has on there that this is the time to kind of, talk to the teacher, get to know them a little bit. How do you ask questions? If you're doing a math problem, how do you do it? If we're going to be doing biology, if it's biology, and you're giving us a list of things, how are you going to list it? I mean, is there? It's just. I know that kind of sounds confusing, but
Definitely.
anyway, it's basically just asking questions. Like I always say, just ask questions, and give them a little bit of information about yourself. When you're doing this in class, I don't understand. Blah blah blah. Is there a way for me to stay after, or me to meet you online? And just kind of ask those questions in the beginning.
Awesome.
And I think that helps a lot, especially with instructors too.
And do you think there are adequate supplemental resources like tutoring and things like that here on campus?
Oh, definitely.
If you have a
Yeah.
question.
Yeah. If students have questions and they need tutoring, we have the WIN Center. There's student support services. There's the
The lift.
lounge, FYE. So I mean, I think there, and then even with like math, Miss Judy, she's usually upstairs. She's she's
The
online.
math lab, I think is what it's
Yeah, the
called.
math lab is
Smile Lab.
online. So there are a lot of different avenues to get assistance here at ECTC. And if any students have any questions, please look me up. I'll tell you where it's at.
We'll get you connected in there.